Admiral Kim Tae-ho walked slowly across the massive chamber floor while thousands of alien eyes watched his every step. The Galactic Council station stretched for kilometers in every direction, and its walls curved up so high that the ceiling disappeared into darkness above them. He had seen many impressive things in his 40 years of life, but nothing compared to this monument to galactic civilization. The chamber itself could hold 1 million beings, and today it was almost full. Representatives from 847 different species sat in their specially designed seats that accommodated everything from gas-breathing jellyfish creatures to massive rock-like beings that weighed several tons. The air recycling systems worked overtime to provide breathable atmosphere for so many different life forms, and Kim could smell the strange mix of gases and chemicals that each species needed to survive. Behind Kim walked 11 other humans, and each one carried themselves with the same quiet confidence that had made the alien diplomats nervous for the past 3 days. Captain Lee Bora kept her hand near her sidearm, even though weapons were supposedly forbidden in the council chambers. Diplomat Park Jin-woo carried a simple briefcase that contained humanity's final response to the galactic ultimatum. Dr. Choi. Min-seo adjusted her glasses and studied the alien technology that surrounded them with the keen eye of a scientist who had spent years preparing for this moment. The High Counselor's platform rose from the center of the chamber like a giant mushroom, and on top of it sat the most powerful being in known space. Velthar of the Zephyrian Collective stood nearly 3 meters tall, and his blue-green skin shimmered with the bioelectric patterns that showed his emotional state. Right now, those patterns pulsed with a slow rhythm that meant he was very angry but trying to stay calm. Kim stopped exactly 10 meters from the platform and clasped his hands behind his back in the military stance he had learned as a young cadet. The gesture looked respectful, but every human in the room knew it was actually a sign of defiance. In human military tradition, it meant a soldier was ready to face whatever came next without backing down. Velthar's voice boomed through the chamber, and the translation devices built into every seat converted his words into 800 different languages at the same time. Human Admiral Kim Tae-ho, you have heard the terms that this council offers to your species. We have been more than generous in our dealings with your people. We offer you protection under galactic law and membership in the greatest civilization that has ever existed. The aliens' bioelectric patterns shifted to show barely controlled irritation as he continued. Your species has shown promise in the 3 years since first contact. Your technology is primitive, but you learn quickly. Your military is small, but you fight with courage. Your diplomats are inexperienced, but they speak with intelligence. This is why we make this offer instead of simply declaring your system a protectorate. Kim listened without changing his expression, even though he wanted to smile at the alien's words. Promise was an interesting way to describe what humanity had shown during first contact. When the Galactic Council's scout ships had arrived in the Sol system 3 years ago, they had expected to find another primitive species that would gratefully accept guidance from their advanced civilization. Instead, they had found humans who asked uncomfortable questions and refused to be impressed by alien technology. The first alien diplomats had made the mistake of treating humans like children who needed to be taught how civilized beings behaved. They had quickly learned that humans did not like being talked down to, and that human diplomats could be just as stubborn and clever as any species in the galaxy. The negotiations that followed had been difficult and tense, as both sides tried to understand each other. The terms are simple, Velthar continued, and his patterns now showed the confidence of someone who believed he held all the advantages. Your species will accept probationary membership in the Galactic Council. You will submit your military forces to Council oversight. You will allow Council inspectors to monitor your weapons development. You will accept a Council governor who will guide your political development. You will open your borders to Council trade and immigration. In return, you will receive the protection of galactic law and access to advanced technology that will improve your civilization. Park Jin-woo opened his briefcase and removed a single sheet of paper. The sight of such primitive communication technology caused murmurs of amusement from many of the alien delegates. In a galaxy where information was stored in quantum matrices and transmitted directly into biological neural networks, the idea of writing on processed plant material seemed absurdly backwards. Kim took the paper from Park and held it up so the chamber's cameras could focus on it. The human response had been printed in simple black letters on white paper, and every word had been chosen very carefully. High Counselor Velthar and distinguished members of the Galactic Council, humanity, appreciates the time and effort you have put into these negotiations. We understand that your offer comes from a desire to maintain order and peace in the galaxy. The bioelectric patterns on Velthar's skin shifted to show surprise. He had expected the humans to either accept the terms immediately or ask for minor changes to make the deal more favorable. What he was hearing sounded like the beginning of a rejection, and that was something that simply did not happen. Kim continued reading in a clear voice that carried throughout the massive chamber. However, after careful consideration and extensive debate among our people, we must respectfully decline your offer of membership in the Galactic Council. We also reject your authority to govern human affairs or dictate the development of human civilization. The chamber erupted in sounds that no human throat could make. Alien delegates shrieked, whistled, buzzed, and produced noises that the translation systems could not convert into words. The bioelectric patterns on Velthar's skin flashed through colors that showed shock, anger, and disbelief, all at the same time. Captain Lee Bora stepped forward and spoke in a voice trained to cut through battlefield noise. The human species chooses independence. We will govern ourselves according to our own laws and customs. We will develop our technology as we see fit. We will defend our territory with whatever means we consider necessary. We reject any claim of authority over human affairs by this council or any other galactic power. Dr. Choi Min-seo added her own statement while studying the reactions of the alien delegates around them. Humanity has observed galactic civilization for the past 3 years, and we have learned much about how your society functions. We have decided that our species will follow a different path. We choose freedom over security and independence over protection. The noise in the chamber grew louder as more delegates realized what they were hearing. In 50,000 years of galactic history, no species had ever rejected council membership. Every civilization that had achieved faster-than-light travel had eventually joined the council, either willingly or after being conquered and forced to comply. The idea that a primitive species would choose to remain outside galactic civilization was so unprecedented that many delegates simply could not believe what they were hearing. Velthar raised one of his long arms, and the chamber slowly fell silent. His bioelectric patterns now showed the deep red colors that meant he was moving from anger into rage. You do not understand what you are saying, human. No species survives alone in this galaxy. The Council offers protection from dangers that you cannot imagine. Without our guidance, your civilization will face threats that will destroy you. Kim folded the paper and put it in his pocket with movements that were deliberately calm and casual. High Counselor, we understand the risks. We also understand that your protection comes with a price that we are not willing to pay. Humanity has made its choice. Then you choose extinction. Velthar's voice boomed through the chamber, and his patterns flashed with colors that made many of the smaller alien delegates move away from the platform. If you will not accept our guidance willingly, then you will be quarantined in your system until you come to your senses. No human ship will be allowed to leave your territory. No alien vessel will be permitted to enter your space. You will remain isolated until your people realize their mistake and request council protection. Park Jin-woo spoke for the first time since entering the chamber. His voice was quiet, but it carried clearly in the sudden silence. We expected this response. Humanity is prepared for whatever consequences follow from our decision. The human delegation turned and walked toward the chamber exit, while thousands of alien beings watched in stunned silence. They moved with the unhurried pace of people who knew exactly what they were doing and were not afraid of what came next. At the massive doors that led out of the chamber, Kim turned back to face the assembly one last time. High Counselor Velthar and members of the Galactic Council, you have offered us a place in your civilization, and we have declined. You have threatened us with isolation, and we accept that isolation. You believe that humanity cannot survive without your protection and guidance. We believe you are wrong. Time will prove which of us is correct. The doors closed behind the human delegation with a sound like thunder, and the greatest diplomatic crisis in galactic history had begun. High Arbiter Quendela floated in her specialized chamber, filled with the methane-rich atmosphere that her species needed to survive. Her crystalline body reflected the lights of the war room in patterns that showed her complete confidence in The upcoming operation. Around her, the military leaders from dozens of different species studied holographic displays that showed the human solar system in perfect detail. Fleet Admiral Noxtar of the Hegemony stood nearly 4 meters tall, and his armored hide bore the scars of countless battles fought across the galaxy. He gestured toward the hologram with one of his 6 arms, while his other limbs manipulated control interfaces. The human system contains one inhabitable world and several colonies on moons and asteroids. Their population is approximately 12 billion individuals spread across multiple planets and space stations. General Thekvar of the Silicon Confederacy projected technical readouts through his mechanical interface. His cybernetic body processed information faster than biological brains, and his analysis appeared as streams of data in the air above them. Human technology is approximately 2,000 years behind galactic standard. Their fastest ships require several days to travel between planets in their system. Their weapons are based on primitive fusion reactions and kinetic projectiles. Their largest military vessels measure less than 2 kilometers in length. Quendala's crystalline form shifted colors as she processed this information. How long will the quarantine fleet require to establish complete control of their system? Admiral Zekthos of the Aquatic Alliance spoke through his water-filled communication sphere. The deployment will take 30 standard days to reach their system. Once in position, we estimate complete compliance within 1 local year. Human psychology profiles indicate they are social creatures who depend on trade and communication with other civilizations. Isolation will cause significant psychological pressure. The assembled military leaders shared what passed for laughter among their various species. The idea that a primitive civilization could resist the combined might of the Galactic Council was so absurd that many of them treated this as a training exercise rather than a real military operation. Meanwhile, on Earth, Dr. Choi Min Seo stood in the secure briefing room beneath the United Earth Defense Council headquarters. The room was buried 3 kilometers underground and surrounded by electromagnetic shielding that prevented any signals from entering or leaving. Around the conference table sat the most powerful humans in the solar system, and their faces showed the grim determination of people who knew they were about to fight for their species' survival. President Han Ji-ho reviewed the final deployment orders, while General Yang Dong-hyun updated tactical displays. Defense Minister Ryu Sung-ho coordinated with intelligence chiefs from every human colony, and Admiral Kim Tae-ho prepared to take command of the most important military operation in human history. Project Lazarus is fully operational, Dr. Choi announced as she activated a holographic display that showed the true state of human military preparation. All orbital platforms are online. The asteroid belt fortifications are complete. Mars defense grid is at full readiness. Jupiter shipyards have completed their final production runs. General Yang studied the tactical displays with the eye of a soldier who had spent his entire career preparing for this moment. The aliens believe they are facing a primitive species with crude technology. They have no idea what we have been building for the past 3 years. The truth was that humanity had begun preparing for this confrontation from the moment alien ships first appeared in their system. While council diplomats believed they were teaching humans about galactic civilization, the real work was happening in secret facilities scattered across the solar system. Human scientists had studied every piece of alien technology they could obtain, and human engineers had developed countermeasures for every weapon system in the galactic arsenal. Dr. Lim Ye-yoon activated another display that showed the results of 3 years of intensive research and development. We have achieved technological parity in defensive systems and superiority in several offensive capabilities. Our new ships are smaller than alien vessels, but they are faster, more maneuverable, and significantly better armed. Intelligence Chief Oh Jae-sung presented the most sensitive information of all. Our infiltration of galactic networks has provided complete specifications for every ship class in the Council fleet. We know their capabilities, their weaknesses, and their standard tactical doctrines. The aliens have no comparable intelligence about our actual military strength. The planning session continued for hours as human leaders finalized every detail of their defense strategy. They knew they would have only one chance to prove that humanity could survive without galactic protection, and that chance was coming very soon. Back on the Council station, Admiral Noxtar briefed his fleet commanders on what he expected to be a simple police action. The quarantine fleet consists of 200 vessels representing the combined military might of 47 different council species. We will establish a perimeter around the human system and prevent any ships from entering or leaving. Commander Velcrone of the Synthetic Collective processed tactical data through his mechanical brain. What resistance do we expect from human forces? Minimal. Noxtar replied with the confidence of someone who had crushed dozens of rebellions throughout his long career. Human ships are primitive, and their weapons are ineffective against modern shielding technology. They may attempt some futile gestures of defiance, but they will quickly realize the hopelessness of their situation. The fleet commanders shared their species' equivalents of confident laughter. They had all fought against primitive civilizations before, and the outcome was always the same. Superior technology and overwhelming force quickly convinced any resistance movement that compliance was their only option for survival. Fleet Captain Zarmoth of the Crystalline Empire studied the human system through long-range sensors. Their orbital installations appear to be primarily commercial in nature. We detect some defensive platforms, but nothing that poses a significant threat to modern warships. What the alien sensors could not detect were the stealth systems that humanity had developed specifically to fool galactic technology. The orbital platforms that appeared to be simple communication relays were actually massive weapons platforms capable of destroying the largest Council warships. The asteroid mining facilities were actually automated defense systems that could coordinate attacks across the entire solar system on Mars. Captain Kang Soo-jin made final preparations aboard the prototype destroyer that would lead humanity's response to the alien blockade. Her ship looked small and unremarkable from the outside, but it contained technology that no alien civilization had ever seen before. The vessel's experimental drive system could accelerate it to speeds that violated every known law of physics, and its weapons could penetrate any known defensive system. Engineer Park Min-ho completed the final tests on the ship's most secret system. Quantum displacement generators are operating at full capacity. Sensor masking is online. Weapon systems are charged and ready. The ship that appeared on alien sensors as a simple patrol vessel was actually capable of engaging multiple capital ships simultaneously. Its quantum displacement system could make it appear to be in 3 different locations at the same time, while its real position remained undetectable. The weapons it carried could punch through alien armor like it was made of paper. Ambassador Song Hye-jin prepared humanity's final message to the Galactic Council. The transmission would be sent just before the alien fleet arrived, and it would serve as both a warning and a declaration of independence. People of the galaxy. The Galactic Council has demanded that humanity submit to their authority and accept their protection. We have respectfully declined this offer and chosen to remain independent. The Council has responded by threatening to quarantine our system and force us into compliance. We want the galaxy to know that humanity did not choose this conflict, but we are prepared to defend ourselves by any means necessary. The message continued with words that would be remembered throughout galactic history. We do not seek war with any species, but we will not surrender our freedom to avoid conflict. We do not desire conquest or dominion over others, but we will not allow others to dominate us. Humanity asks only for the right to determine our own destiny, and we are willing to fight for that right. As the alien fleet approached the edge of the solar system, human defenders took their positions throughout the system. On every planet and moon and space station, people prepared for a battle that would determine whether humanity would survive as a free species or be crushed into submission by the overwhelming power of galactic civilization. The aliens expected to find a primitive species that would quickly surrender when faced with superior force. Instead, they were about to discover that humans had used the past 3 years to prepare the most sophisticated defense system ever created. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity had not just rejected council authority, but had developed the military capability to enforce that rejection. The war that would reshape galactic civilization was about to begin, and neither side truly understood what they were fighting for or what the ultimate consequences would be. Fleet Commander Zerkoth studied the tactical displays aboard his flagship as the Galactic Council Enforcement Fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the human solar system. 200 of the most advanced warships in the galaxy spread out in perfect formation while their sensors began scanning for signs of human resistance. The commander's confidence remained absolute as he observed what appeared to be a typical primitive system with basic orbital installations and crude defensive platforms. "Initial scans complete," reported his sensor officer through the ship's neural communication network. "We detect approximately 50 human vessels in the outer system. Most appear to be cargo ships and civilian transports. Military vessels are concentrated near the third planet, which appears to be their homeworld, Zerkoth." Manipulated the holographic display with his telepathic interface and examined the human positions. Everything matched the intelligence reports that had predicted minimal resistance from a species that had barely achieved interstellar flight. The human ships were small and appeared to be armed with primitive weapons that posed no threat to Galactic military technology. "Broadcast the standard surrender demand," he ordered while settling into his command throne. "Inform the humans that they have 1 standard hour to power down their weapons and prepare to receive Council inspection teams. Any resistance will be met with appropriate force." The message transmitted across all frequencies while the alien fleet continued its advance toward the inner system. Long-range sensors detected increased activity around the human homeworld, but nothing that caused any concern among the experienced alien commanders. They had seen this pattern many times before when primitive species realized they were facing the full might of galactic civilization. What the alien sensors could not detect was the true nature of the human preparations that had been 3 years in the making. Hidden throughout the solar system were weapons and defenses that used technology the aliens had never encountered. Humanity had not just studied galactic civilization during the diplomatic negotiations, but had developed countermeasures for every aspect of alien military capability. On Mars, Captain Kang Soo-jin received the final authorization to begin Operation Independence. Her destroyer was the most advanced warship ever built by human hands, and it incorporated technology that pushed the boundaries of known physics. The ship's experimental quantum drive allowed it to manipulate space and time in ways that would confuse alien sensors and targeting systems. "All stations report ready," announced her tactical officer Lee Jun-ho as weapon systems came online throughout the ship. "Quantum displacement generators are operating at full power. Stealth systems are active. Enemy fleet is maintaining standard approach pattern." Engineer O.J. Sung monitored the ship's most secret systems from his position in the engineering section. "Temporal variance field is stable. We are effectively existing in 3 different time streams simultaneously. Enemy sensors will detect multiple targets but will be unable to determine our actual position." The technology that made this possible had been developed by studying alien physics databases that human intelligence agents had accessed during the diplomatic talks. While council representatives believed they were teaching humans about basic scientific principles, the real work was being done by teams of scientists who were learning how to surpass galactic technology using human innovation and creativity. Admiral Kim Tae-ho coordinated the defense from his command center buried deep beneath the lunar surface. Holographic displays showed the positions of every ship in both fleets, while communication links connected him to commanders throughout the solar system. The defense plan required perfect timing and coordination between forces that were spread across billions of kilometers. Phase 1 initiates in 30 seconds, he announced to the fleet commanders who would lead humanity's response to the alien ultimatum. "Remember that we are not just fighting for our own survival, but proving to the galaxy that free species can defend themselves against tyranny." Dr. Choi Min-seo monitored the engagement from her position at the primary research facility on Titan. Her teams had developed most of the weapons and defensive systems that would determine the outcome of this battle. The quantum field generators that protected human positions could deflect any known alien weapon, while the directed energy systems that armed human ships could penetrate the strongest alien defenses. "All experimental systems are performing within acceptable parameters," she reported as the final countdown began. "Human forces are ready to demonstrate that superior technology does not always belong to the largest civilization." The alien fleet continued its advance, while Commander Zerkoth reviewed the tactical situation. Human resistance appeared to be concentrating around their homeworld, which was exactly what Council strategists had predicted. The aliens would establish their blockade and begin systematic elimination of human defenses until the primitive species acknowledged the futility of resistance. "Human vessels are taking defensive positions," reported the fleet's tactical coordinator. "They appear to be grouping around orbital installations near their third planet. Standard doctrine suggests we should eliminate their military capability before establishing the quarantine perimeter. Zerkoth activated the fleet communications system and addressed his commanders. Begin attack pattern 7. Eliminate human, military vessels and orbital defenses. Avoid damage to civilian populations unless they actively resist our operations. This should be completed within 6 standard hours. The alien fleet accelerated toward the inner system, while their weapons systems charged for the engagement that would demonstrate galactic military superiority. Plasma cannons that could vaporize. Asteroids powered up alongside gravitational weapons that could tear apart the molecular structure of any material. The combined firepower of 200 advanced warships was enough to sterilize an entire planet. What happened next would be remembered throughout galactic history as the moment when the balance of power in the galaxy shifted forever. Captain Kang. Sujin's destroyer appeared on alien sensors as 3 separate ships moving in impossible directions at speeds that violated relativistic physics. Her vessel's quantum displacement system created temporal echoes that confused every targeting computer in the alien fleet, while her actual position remained undetectable. Firing, announced Tactical Officer Lee Jun-ho as the ship's main weapon, discharged for the first time in combat conditions. The directed energy beam that emerged from the human destroyer was unlike anything in the galactic arsenal. Instead of following a straight path, it bent around defensive fields and struck alien ships from directions that should have been impossible. The first alien vessel to be hit was a heavy cruiser from the Hegemony fleet that was considered one of the most heavily armored ships in galactic service. The human weapon beam passed through its shields as if they did not exist, and carved through armor plating that had withstood plasma bombardment from multiple sources. The massive alien warship simply broke apart as its structural integrity failed. Commander. Zerkoth watched in disbelief as his sensors reported the destruction of a capital ship by what appeared to be a primitive human patrol vessel. All units focus fire on that human ship. Eliminate it immediately. Dozens of alien weapons targeted the human destroyer, but their targeting systems could not lock onto a vessel that appeared to be in multiple locations simultaneously. Plasma beams and gravitational projectiles passed through empty space while the human ship continued its attack run against the alien formation. More human vessels appeared throughout the solar system as defensive positions that had seemed empty suddenly revealed their true nature. Asteroid mining. Facilities transformed into massive weapon platforms that could engage multiple targets at once. Communications satellites revealed themselves to be sophisticated sensor networks that provided targeting data for weapons scattered across the entire system. Engineering Chief Park Min-ho reported from his position aboard one of the orbital defense platforms. All primary systems are functioning perfectly. Alien weapons are having no effect on our quantum field defenses. Their targeting computers cannot compensate for our displacement technology. The battle that the aliens had expected to last 6 hours was over in less than 30 minutes. Human weapons systematically destroyed or disabled every alien vessel while suffering minimal damage in return. The advanced technology that had taken galactic civilization 50,000 years to develop proved useless against human innovations that had been created in just 3 years. Commander Zerkoth transmitted his final message as his flagships. Systems failed around him. All vessels retreat immediately. Human technology exceeds all parameters. This is not possible according to any known scientific principles. How did a primitive species develop capabilities that surpass our most advanced systems? The surviving alien ships fled toward the edge of the system, while human forces maintained their positions. Admiral Kim Tae-ho allowed the retreat to continue, without pursuit because the message that needed to be sent had already been delivered. Humanity had proven that it could defend itself against the full might of galactic civilization. Ambassador Song Hye-jin broadcast the message that would reshape diplomatic relations throughout the galaxy. High Arbiter. Quendala floated motionless in her chamber as the impossible reports continued to arrive from throughout the galaxy. Her crystalline body had turned the deep purple color that indicated complete shock as she processed information that challenged everything she believed about galactic civilization. The enforcement fleet had been destroyed by a primitive species that should not have possessed the technology to resist a single council warship. Emergency sessions convened in council chambers across multiple star systems as representatives from 847 species demanded explanations for the catastrophic defeat. How had humans developed weapons that could penetrate advanced alien defenses, and how had they created defensive systems that rendered galactic military technology useless? Senator Velthar of the Zephyrian Collective stood before the emergency assembly with bioelectric patterns that showed fear and confusion. The surviving fleet commanders report that human weapons operated on principles that violate known physics. Their ships appeared to exist in multiple locations simultaneously, while their energy beams bent around our defensive fields. This level of technology should require thousands of years of development. General Thekvar of the Silicon Confederacy projected data streams that showed the technical impossibility of what had occurred. Our analysis of the battle indicates that humans achieved technological superiority through methods that no council species has ever discovered. They appear to have developed quantum manipulation technology that allows them to alter the fundamental structure of space and time. The council chamber erupted in sounds of disbelief and anger as representatives realized that their military supremacy had been challenged by a species they had dismissed as primitive. The foundation of galactic order rested on the assumption that council technology was superior to anything that independent species could develop. On Earth, Dr. An Siwu prepared to broadcast the revelation that would transform galactic civilization forever. As humanity's leading expert on alien archaeology, he had spent decades studying the remnants of ancient civilizations that had been discovered throughout human space. What he had learned would explain how humans had achieved the impossible. Citizens of the galaxy, he began as his transmission reached every inhabited world within 1,000 light years. I am Dr. An Siwu of the Human Xenoarchaeological Institute, and I am about to share information that will change your understanding of galactic history. The broadcast reached billions of beings across hundreds of star systems as Dr. An revealed the truth that the Galactic Council had hidden for 50,000 years. Humanity has been observing galactic civilization for much longer than the 3 years since official first contact. We have been studying your technology, your society, and your weaknesses for over 2 centuries. Holographic displays showed the evidence that human teams had collected from crash sites and abandoned installations throughout human space. Ancient, alien technology had been reverse-engineered and improved by human scientists who were not bound by the limitations that restricted council research and development. The wreckage of alien vessels has been falling onto human worlds since before we achieved spaceflight. Dr. An continued, as images showed archaeological sites that contained technology from dozens of different council species. We studied your quantum field generators, your plasma weapons, your faster-than-light drives, and your communication systems. But we did not simply copy what we found. Dr. Lim Ye-yoon joined the broadcast from her laboratory on Mars, where teams of scientists had spent decades perfecting the technology that had defeated the alien fleet. Human researchers approached alien technology from a completely different perspective than the species that originally created it. We were not limited by the assumptions and traditions that have guided galactic development for thousands of years. The revelation that humans had been secretly studying galactic technology sent shockwaves through the council chambers. But the real devastating truth was still to come. Intelligence Chief Ryu Sung-ho appeared on the broadcast with files that had been classified at the highest levels of human government. Our study of alien technology led us to infiltrate Galactic's communication networks during the first diplomatic contacts. We accessed council databases that contained the complete technical specifications for every weapon system, every ship design, and every defensive technology in your arsenal. The evidence he presented showed that human intelligence agents had penetrated the most secure council systems and downloaded information that should have been impossible for any unauthorized user to access. While alien diplomats believed they were teaching humans about basic scientific principles, the real work was being done by teams of hackers and spies who were stealing the galaxy's most closely guarded secrets. We learned that galactic civilization follows a rigid pattern of technological development that has remained unchanged for 50,000 years, Ryu continued as technical data filled the displays. Every species that joins the Council is guided along the same research paths and discouraged from pursuing innovations that might disrupt established systems. Dr. Choi Min-seo explained the most important discovery of all. The Galactic Council has created a stagnant empire that suppresses innovation and independent thinking. Your technology has not improved significantly in tens of thousands of years because you have eliminated the competition and creativity that drives scientific advancement. The broadcast showed comparative analyses that demonstrated how human technology had surpassed galactic standards in just 3 years of independent development. While council species followed predetermined research guidelines that limited their capabilities, humans had pursued radical innovations that violated every assumption about what was possible. We discovered that your weapons systems all operate on the same basic principles because council regulations prevent research into alternative approaches, Dr. Choi explained. Your defensive technologies use the same field generation methods because deviation from standard designs is forbidden. Your ships follow the same construction patterns because creativity in military engineering is considered dangerous. President Han Ji-ho joined the broadcast to deliver the political implications of these revelations. The Galactic Council has maintained control over member species by convincing them that council technology represents the pinnacle of scientific achievement. The truth is that your empire has become so focused on maintaining order that it has forgotten how to innovate. The human leader's words carried across the galaxy as billions of beings learned that their civilization had stagnated while pretending to advance. Humanity chose independence because we recognized that joining your council would mean accepting limitations on our development that would prevent us from reaching our full potential as a species. On the council station, High Arbiter Quenadala watched her empire begin to crumble as the human revelations sparked unprecedented unrest throughout galactic civilization. For the first time in 50,000 years, council authority was being openly questioned by member species who realized they had been kept in a state of technological dependency. Emergency reports flooded in from across the galaxy as member species began demanding access to research that had been classified by council authorities. The rigid control system that had maintained galactic order for millennia was collapsing under the weight of questions that the council could not answer. Fleet Admiral Noxtar reported from the military headquarters that had been established to coordinate the response to human defiance. 17 species have filed formal complaints about restrictions on their military research programs. The Kalari Confederation has demanded access to weapon designs that have been classified for 3,000 years. The Vorthan Republic is threatening to withdraw from council defense agreements. The crisis deepened as more species realized that the council had been deliberately limiting their technological development to maintain control over galactic civilization. What they had been told was guidance and protection was actually a system designed to prevent any member species from developing the capability to challenge council authority. Dr. Bayek Minji delivered the final part of the human revelation that would reshape the galaxy forever. Humanity offers an alternative to the stagnation that has infected galactic civilization. We propose cooperation between truly independent species who are free to develop their own technology and pursue their own destiny. Her words carried the promise of a new form of galactic organization based on equality and mutual respect, rather than domination and control. We invite any species that desires freedom from council restrictions to join us in creating a confederation of independent worlds where innovation is encouraged and creativity is rewarded. The broadcast ended with images of human ships preparing to leave the solar system for the first time since the crisis began. But these were not ships designed for war or conquest, but vessels built for exploration and peaceful contact with species who might be ready to embrace independence. Ambassador Song Hee-jin delivered the final message that would be remembered throughout galactic history. The galaxy told us to kneel, and we chose to stand. Now we invite others to stand with us and discover what galactic civilization can become when it is built on freedom instead of fear. 6 months after the failed enforcement action, the galaxy had transformed in ways that no one could have predicted when the crisis began. President Han Ji-ho stood before the United Earth Assembly as reports arrived from across known space, describing the collapse of the old galactic order and the emergence of something entirely new. The massive screens around the assembly hall displayed star maps that showed the rapid spread of independence movements throughout Council territory. What had begun as humanity's solitary act of defiance had inspired a galactic revolution that was reshaping civilization itself. The Vorthan Republic declared independence from council authority yesterday, reported Foreign Minister Park Jin-woo as he updated the assembly on the latest developments. They cite the human precedent in their formal declaration and have requested membership in the Free Species Alliance. The Free Species Alliance had grown from humanity's initial proposal into a confederation of 37 independent worlds that rejected council control in favor of voluntary cooperation between equals. Each member species retained complete sovereignty over their internal affairs, while working together on projects that benefited all participants. Admiral Kim Tae-ho presented the military situation from his new position as Supreme Commander of Alliance Defense Forces. Council military strength has declined by 40% as member species withdraw their ships from Council service. The enforcement fleets that once maintained galactic order have been reduced to a fraction of their former size. The transformation had been remarkably peaceful considering the scope of the changes that were occurring. Most species that chose independence simply declared their withdrawal from council authority and began governing themselves according to their own traditions and customs. The council was powerless to prevent these departures because their military forces were no longer sufficient to maintain control over reluctant members. Dr. Choi Min-seo reported on the technological revolution that was spreading throughout the alliance. Unrestricted research has produced advances that exceed 50,000 years of council development in just 6 months. Species that had been limited to predetermined research paths are now free to pursue innovations that were previously forbidden. The liberation of galactic science had produced breakthroughs that amazed even human researchers who had started the revolution. When intelligent beings were free to explore new ideas without restrictions, they could achieve things that had been considered impossible under the old system. Captain Kang Soo-jin had been promoted to admiral and now commanded humanity's first interstellar exploration fleet. Her ships were making contact with independent species throughout the galaxy and offering them partnership in the alliance. We have established diplomatic relations with 43 species that have rejected council authority. Most are eager to share technology and knowledge without the restrictions that limited them for thousands of years. The exploration missions had revealed that many species had been developing advanced technology in secret while pretending to follow council guidelines. When these innovations were shared freely among alliance members, the rate of scientific progress accelerated beyond anything that galactic civilization had ever experienced. Intelligence Chief Ryu Sung-ho presented the most significant development of all. The Galactic Council has lost effective control over approximately 60% of their former territory. High Arbiter Quendala has been removed from office and replaced by an emergency committee that is attempting to negotiate with the independence movements. The mighty empire that had dominated the galaxy for 50 millennia was fragmenting as more species realized they no longer needed council protection or guidance. The fear that had kept civilizations in line for thousands of generations was being replaced by hope for a better future. Dr. Baek Min-ji had been appointed as the Alliance's first director of interspecies cooperation, and her teams were helping former council members transition to independence. "We are not trying to replace the council's authority with our own," she explained to the assembly. "Our goal is to prove that galactic civilization can function without any central authority controlling the development of member species. The Alliance operated on principles that were revolutionary in galactic terms, but seemed natural to humans who had always valued independence and self-determination. Each species contributed what they could to cooperative projects while retaining complete control over their own territory, and Resources Ambassador Song Hye-jin had become the Alliance's primary diplomat and was coordinating with independence movements throughout the galaxy. The Council is offering concessions to species that are considering withdrawal from their authority. They have promised greater autonomy and reduced restrictions on research and development. But these offers were too little and too late to prevent the continued erosion of Council control. Once species realized they could survive and prosper without council protection, they saw little reason to remain under galactic authority that limited their potential. Engineer O.J. Sung reported on the massive construction projects that were transforming Alliance territory. Joint shipyards operated by multiple species are producing vessels that incorporate the best technology from every member civilization. Our combined capabilities exceed anything that exists in council space. The cooperation between independent species had produced innovations that surprised everyone involved. When different approaches to science and engineering were combined freely, the results often exceeded what any single civilization could achieve. Working alone, Dr. Lim Ye-yoon presented the research breakthroughs that were reshaping galactic understanding of physics and technology. Unrestricted collaboration between species with different scientific traditions has led to discoveries that challenge fundamental assumptions about what is possible. The quantum manipulation technology that had given humans their initial advantage was being improved by alien scientists who approached the same problems from completely different perspectives. The combination of human creativity with alien expertise was producing capabilities that neither could have developed independently. General Yang Dong-hyun addressed the security situation that had developed as the galaxy reorganized itself. Council hardliners are attempting to maintain control through military force, but their remaining fleets are insufficient to suppress the independence movements. Most conflicts are ending in Council defeats as their outdated tactics prove ineffective against Alliance innovations. The military superiority that had maintained Council dominance for thousands of years had evaporated as member species gained access to advanced technology and unrestricted tactical development. Freedom to innovate in military affairs had proven just as important as freedom to innovate in civilian technology. President Han stood to deliver his final address to the Assembly that would be broadcast throughout Alliance territory. 6 months. Ago humanity chose independence over security and freedom over protection. Today, 37 species have made the same choice, and the galaxy is better for their courage. He paused as the images on the screens showed Alliance ships exploring regions of space that had been forbidden to independent species under Council law. We have proven that galactic civilization does not require central authority to function effectively. We have demonstrated that cooperation between equals produces better results than dominance by the powerful over the weak. The transformation of galactic civilization was far from complete, but the direction of change was clear. The old system based on control and restriction was giving way to a new order founded on cooperation and innovation. Captain Lee Bo-ra commanded one of the exploration vessels that was making contact with species on the edges of known space. Many of these civilizations had been isolated from galactic affairs because they refused to accept Council authority. Now, they were discovering that independence was no longer synonymous with isolation. We are finding entire regions of space populated by species that rejected Council control centuries ago, she reported from the frontier regions beyond Alliance territory. These civilizations have developed their own technologies and social systems without any outside interference. The discovery that successful independent civilizations existed throughout the galaxy provided additional proof that Council protection was not necessary for species survival. In many cases, the isolated civilizations had achieved higher levels of technological and social development than their Council counterparts. As the Assembly session concluded, President Han reflected on how completely the galaxy had changed since humanity's decision to reject Council authority. What had seemed like a desperate gamble had become the catalyst for the greatest transformation in galactic history. The final images broadcast from the Assembly showed Alliance ships departing for unexplored regions of space where they would encounter civilizations that had never known Council control. These were not missions of conquest or dominance, but expeditions to discover what galactic civilization could become when it was based on respect for the independence and dignity of all intelligent species. Admiral Kim Tae-ho stood on the bridge of the Alliance flagship as it prepared to depart for the galactic frontier.